I'm delighted today to be talking to Ambassador Alfredo Labbe. He is Director General of Foreign Policy in the Bachelet government of Chile, which is the analog position of Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs in the United States. Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us on World Review, and let's talk a little bit about Chile's foreign policy under the Bachelet government with Minister Heraldo Muñoz, foreign minister. What are the general outlines of the government's foreign policy?
Thank you, Dr. Tulchin. Well, the main lines are lines of continuity under a policy of consensus. After all, you need to remember that Minister Muñoz and President Bachelet were previously engaged in the formulation of these lines. Now, there is a second element, which I would describe it as a new body language concerning particularly the countries in the Atlantic coast of South America. These elements of continuity and these elements of new signals point to our desire to be a factor of unity within our region and to continue to display all the lines of work that we have been displaying in the past in order to foster better relations with Asia Pacific, Europe, Africa, and of course the Middle East.
Does the government see Chile's role in the Pacific as crucial to its foreign policy?
Absolutely. It is not only crucial, but very important in what we are calling now the private-public alliance in order to foster growth in Chile. The Chilean participation in the Pacific Alliance will continue to be enthusiastic, proactive, and absolutely deep. We will continue there. The President has participated at the summits of the Alliance. The Minister has participated. The most recent meeting took place here in Santiago, including the Vice Ministers. Ministers was participating at the ministerial meetings in the fringes of the General Assembly in New York. So that is exactly 100% not only continuation, but even improving and deepening and widening the scope of activities of the Pacific Alliance.
Now, very, very controversial in Europe and the United States has been the rise of new regional organizations in Latin America. I just mentioned two, UNASUR, which is the Union of South American States, and CELAC, which is a newer organization that brings together countries in all of Latin America and the Caribbean, but explicitly excludes the United States and Canada. Minister Muñoz, in a public statement, referred to CELAC as creating a Latin American space. What does he mean by that?
Well, CELAC is not only Latin American, but it includes the Caribbean as well. And this is very important. It is a space for political consultation. You see, it is a space where we can discuss from our perspective of Latin American developing countries certain lines of work which are where we can find an easier understanding and a consensus. Let me point, for instance, to a very significant statement by the heads of state and government of CELAC regarding nuclear disarmament. As you will understand, it will be much easier to reach consensus among us, all of us being member states of the Tlatelolco Treaty on Nuclear Disarmament, than with the United States, which is having some difficulties in that area, although we are very, of course, cognizant of the Prague speech by President Obama regarding the vision of a world without nuclear weapons. So you see, CELAC is a space for political debate. UNASUR is something different. UNASUR is a founded international organization which includes a treaty, includes a democratic charter, includes the creation of several councils and committees dealing, for instance, with infrastructure, with drug trafficking, with defense, with public health. And we continue to work to find ways of integration and cooperation between our countries in very specific areas. So I realize that we have been rather inventive in the matter of creating groupings and different associations. We had Mercosur, we had the Andean Pact at a certain stage, but all these are working for the same purpose. UNASUR is enjoying a greater degree of political momentum, I would say.
Last year, our mutual friend Alberto van Claveren brought to a successful conclusion the international mediation of the maritime dispute with Peru in The Hague. I personally feel it was a great triumph for Chile, and I wonder what your opinion might be, if you would share your opinion with us about the possibility of a similar or analogous resolution of the dispute with Bolivia.
Well, that is a difficult question. It will depend on Bolivia. First of all, we need to point out that this administration wants to work with Bolivia in important matters of common interest. We are Latin American countries, we are developing countries, we are neighboring countries. We want more integration. We want more cooperation. We want a deepened and really creative relationship with Bolivia. But Bolivia chose to bring their what we call maritime aspiration to the International Court of Justice in The Hague. So they sued us, and by doing so, they created a political atmosphere under which it will be more difficult to cooperate in the traditional way with Bolivia. So we expect this case to be taken very seriously by the International Court of Justice, and we are presenting our own arguments. The guise of the demand of Bolivia is that we should negotiate with them, but with a predetermined outcome that we should give to them a piece of Chilean territory for them to have a sovereign access to the Pacific Ocean. They do have access to the Pacific Ocean, economic access, trade access, through Chilean ports, through Chilean facilities, and through Chilean infrastructure, out of the 1904 treaty, which ended the Pacific War between Chile and Bolivia, and a myriad of our treaties and agreements, some of them bilateral, some of them multilateral, some of them regional. But they want a sovereign access. And they are suing us, they have sued us in order to get from us via the courts the promise to enter into negotiations, which are very curious negotiations, because these they are talking about negotiations with a predetermined outcome. So it is not that we are going to negotiate in order to see if we can reach an agreement. They want us to negotiate in terms of a predetermined outcome related to their desire to have a sovereign port in the Pacific. Now we expect the court to reach a decision in favorable terms to us, saying that this is not acceptable, because if you do this, and if they follow the Bolivian line of argument, then the whole system, the whole regime of borders in the world would be in danger. You see, You could not enter into any kind of bilateral negotiations if, by doing so, you will be deemed obliged to have a certain result.
Well, I can
Um,
see that the Chilean position is made very clear, and the Bolivian position, which is not my place to represent, but we should simply point out to the viewers of our conversation that there is another point of view, and we will hear about that from the International Court of Justice, I'm sure. Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate spending it with us in World Review, and we'll look forward perhaps to another conversation.